video, I'm going to share a suggested study plan which you can apply both for the Part 1 and Part 2 of the CMA exam. Also, please note that the amount of study time that I recommend here is just a range or an approximation of the minimum and maximum number of study hours that you would require. If you haven't watched my previous video, the 5 study and preparation tips for the CMA exam, I highly suggest that you go watch it first, since this video is just a continuation of that video. So just a recap, in that video, I explained in my first tip that you first need to assess the complexity of the exam content, your familiarity of the topics, and your existing knowledge. After you're done with that, second, you need to make a study plan and get organized. Your assessment of how complex the topics are and your existing knowledge will definitely help you determine how much study time you need to commit to yourself in order to pass the CMA exam. If, based on your assessment, you're already familiar with some of the topics, you may follow the suggested minimum number of study hours. However, if based on your assessment, you find the CMA exam topics quite new or complex, you may want to follow the maximum amount of study time which I suggest here. So in this video, I'm gonna suggest 3 study plans which you can follow depending on your current circumstance. If you have limited time, or if you think you're already familiar with the topics and you are quite okay with the exam, you can have 2 months of preparation, committing a total of 144 hours of study time. However, if you have plenty of time, or if based on your assessment you find the topics complex or quite new for you, you can have 3 months of preparation and commit a total of 216 hours following the same plan. Or if you can allot 2 extra hours during weekends, then you'll be able to commit a total of 264 hours of study time. So now let's examine in great detail the suggested study plan which I have devised for you. As discussed, I have devised 3 study plans depending on your current circumstance. So to make it easy for you to understand, I've divided the suggested total number of study hours into number of study hours per day which you need to commit both on weekends and on weekdays. So to start with, for Plan A, this is for people who are quite okay or comfortable with the topics or who have limited time. So how can you budget your time if you only have 2 months of preparation? As you can see on the table, you can commit 2 hours of study time on weekdays and 4 hours of study time on weekends. Assuming you are consistent and you study for 5 consecutive days during weekdays and in both days during weekends, then you'll be able to commit a total of 18 hours per week. And when you multiply that by 8 weeks, you'll get a total of 144 hours of study time in 2 months. Plan B is for people who are not yet comfortable with the topics and thus will require more time, or for people who have extra 1 month to prepare. So similar to Plan A, if you're consistent and you're able to commit 2 hours of study time on weekdays and 4 hours of study time on weekends, you'll be able to commit a total of 18 hours per week. And when you multiply that by 12 weeks, you'll be able to get 216 hours of study time. Now for Plan C, this is quite similar to Plan B, only that you add extra 2 hours of study time on weekends. Following that, you'll have 22 hours of study time in a week, and when you multiply that by 12 weeks, you'll be able to commit a total of 264 hours of study time. So to summarize it, for Plan A, you need 2 months of preparation, wherein you need to commit 2 hours of study time on weekdays and 4 hours on weekends. For Plan B, you need 3 months of preparation, wherein you need also to commit 2 hours of study time on weekdays and 4 hours on weekends. For Plan C, it's going to be 3 months of preparation, and same as well, you need to allocate 2 hours of study time on weekdays and additional 2 hours, making it 6 hours of study time on weekends. In case you're struggling with budgeting your time, I'm also going to share some bonus tips which you can also apply. First, I suggest that you identify all your activities during weekdays and on weekends. Next, this is helpful especially for the working professionals who are also preparing for the CMA exam. I suggest that you account for the total number of work hours you have on weekdays and on weekends. After considering that, determine the number of hours of free time that you have. You need to do it both on weekdays and on weekends. Third, assess if your free time is enough based on the selected study plan. In case you need more study time, you need to determine which activities you can remove or reduce for a temporary period until you pass the CMA exam. As the saying goes, sacrifice now for a better future. Fourth, fully commit to your selected study plan. Do whatever you can in order to stay disciplined. I'm also going to provide you with some of my study techniques which you can also follow. First, during weekdays, you can complete a few short study sessions, and on weekends, you can complete longer study sessions. Second, when is the best time to study? There's no actually definitive answer for this. It actually depends on your assessment on which technique works best for you. I highly suggest that you study at the time that is most convenient for your mind and body. That is when you feel most awake, alert, and comfortable. I also suggest that you designate a specific study area where you can focus and eliminate distractions. And speaking of distractions, fourth, you need to block all sorts of distractions, may it be social media, emails, calls, invites, text messages, and so on. This is because it's hard to refocus once you get distracted. Fifth, block your calendars or make a study planner in order for you to fully commit to your study hours. So, when is the best time to schedule your exam date? So, I highly recommend that you schedule your exam date in a particular testing window once you know how many weeks of study time you will need to be completely prepared and comfortable with the exam content. So this ends my suggested study plan. I hope this has been helpful to whoever needs to hear this. I have linked all my videos and my CMA US playlist in the description box for more information. If you like this video, hit like, share, and subscribe. Till next time.